I like to flavor and season my bird quite a bit, so I'll teach you what I use and talk about some other things along the way. I've pulled the neck and the giblet package out of the cavity. I popped the legs out of the little plastic thingy. And what I'm going to do is spatchcock this bird. It cuts the cooking time 50 to 75%. So instead of cooking this bird for 4 hours, I'm hoping to only cook it for an hour or so. So we'll see how long it takes. This is almost 13 pounds. First thing you're going to need is some good kitchen shears. They just need to be really, really sharp and heavy duty so that you can cut through bone and cartilage. Now this is the breast, so you don't want to cut the breast. You want to cut the backbone out. Whoop, there's the giblets right there. This is the neck. You can see the bone, the backbone here, and it goes straight across. So it's just a matter of finding where you want to start and then just going for it. You can kind of put your thumb here and you can feel where the neck bone is. So don't be afraid. Just get in there. You can wash your hands later. And you're going to run your scissors along that opening. So make your first cut and then feel again. And then go back in there, make another cut. It shouldn't be super difficult. It should be rather easy to get in there. This other side here. Once you get it kind of opened up and you can look at the anatomy of the bird, it's a little bit easier. But I'm just a mom in a kitchen. So don't be afraid to try new things. You're not going to learn anything unless you try. What do you see, Tate? You see some big old crows out there? Those big crows. Silly dog. If you see any big pieces of fat here, you can cut off some of this. The next thing I want to do is flip this guy back over. See how he lays out nice, but this is still up high? Next thing you want to do is take the heel of your hand and you find this breastbone here. And you want to push on that. You just push it down. And if you need a little help with it, you can make a couple incisions in the back side along the bone, but you want to try to get it to lay as flat as possible. So that's pretty flat there. I'm gonna get my hands cleaned up. I'm gonna get this bird dried off, and then we'll start talking about seasoning. I got the bird all cleaned up and dried. The next thing I'm going to do is salt this really well. I want to make sure that the skin gets crispy, and the best way to do that is to salt it. I like using just a Mediterranean sea salt. And what the salt does is it helps to draw out the moisture from the skin and season it, of course. Skin's the best part. And because all of the skin on the bird is facing up, you have more crispy skin to enjoy. So I'm going to move this guy over here. You just hang out there for a little bit. Mama needs the stove. So again, I got a nice sharp knife. If you don't have a nice knife sharpener and a good set of knives, invest. It's seriously life-changing in the kitchen. So what I'm gonna do is I like to make an herbed butter. First thing I'm gonna do is put a stick of butter in a small saucepan. So with reference to cooking in an RV, cooking a turkey like this in an RV in a propane oven would be fantastic because your oven's a little bit smaller. I would recommend getting a smaller bird. This is kind of a 13 pounds is a lot. I mean, you can get an 8-pound bird, so I would get a smaller bird. I have my butter in there. I'm gonna go ahead and turn my stove on. Get that butter cooking down. Got some fresh herbs. My arrow garden I had to replant. I lost all of my herbs after our road trip in May, and I just replanted them. So I don't have my own herbs. I had to pay for them this time, which kind of stinks, but it is what it is. And so I'm just gonna Harvest some leaves off of this rosemary. Oh, there is nothing like fresh herbs, but I like to use fresh herbs, and the Arrow Garden gives me that. If you don't have an Arrow Garden, hey, it's kind of like therapy, but it's a slippery slope, so be careful. But it is so awesome to be able to go into your wherever you have it, and mine's in my office, and grab some fresh herbs. So when my herb garden starts to produce, I'll show you a lot more of that. And this butter is something that you could make beforehand too. You could totally do all of this and put it in the fridge and use it as a compound butter and just soften it slightly and then throw it on your bird. You could totally do that. Okay, so that's my rosemary. Oh, my hand smells so good. Okay, my butter is just starting to bubble, so I'm gonna turn it off. And Ryan likes to have his own turkey, and it's nice. I mean, that turkey cost me like $8 for 13 pounds of bird or whatever it was. Get one, make it. This could be a weekend project. You don't have to wait for a special occasion to have turkey. Turkey's cheap. Okay, thyme. Yeah, it's tedious, but man, it's so good. And these little stems that are, you know, they're not super woody, don't worry about those being in there. They'll cook up fine. They'll be nice and tender. This is the time I use for quiet contemplation in the kitchen. Thankful for the grace and the forgiveness and the protection. And if you want to, if you don't want to mess with this part, take all of your herbs, tie them together with some twine and make a bouquet garnier. You can actually just throw that in your butter and pull it out when you're done. The butter will pull out the flavors and the oils and the herbs, and you can just use that flavored butter. If you don't want all of the little green specks on your bird, it's totally fine to do that. I like the color, and you know, there's fiber in here and there's nutrients in here. So I like to just, I like to do it this way. If you get any stray ones like that just won't chop up, pull them out. They don't need to play. They ain't gonna play by the rules. They don't need to play. Okay, that's pretty good. We're just doing rough chop on these. Next thing is sage. Okay, so just pick the leaves off like this. Oh, it smells so good. There's nothing quite like fresh sage. Throw your sage in a little bit of butter, brown butter, and they get nice and crispy, and you can use it as a garnish. So pretty and tasty. Edible garnish, I should say. Okay, so that's a package of sage. And then what I do is I just stack all the leaves up and make a little chiffonade. Learning some French today, aren't we? Just tuck them under, get them into a little bundle like this. You're gonna take your knife and just do really fine strips. You do your basil this way too. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. All those oils are releasing. And then you have little ribbons of sage. Now if you want to break those down a little bit, just run your knife through it again. Do just a rough chop on them, it's fine. And there'll be little crispy bits. Okay, so there's my herbs. I'd say that's a cup of fresh herbs. So maybe 1/3 of a cup each. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use some Better Than Bouillon roasted garlic base. What I'm gonna do is flip my butter back on, and it's just a kind of a gooey consistency. It's roasted garlic. So what I'm gonna do is I got this all stirred up. I'm just gonna do a nice big glob like that in my butter. And then I'm gonna throw my herbs in there. And then I'm just gonna stir this around. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, the smell is incredible. And just as you start to smell that, turn it off. You don't want to overcook your herbs. See how they're still green? That's the way you want it. I'm removing this from the heat. I'm going to stir it around a little bit just to help dissipate that heat a little bit quicker. And then while that cools a little bit, another thing that I like to do is pull that little knob out of the turkey, the little button. We don't want that in there. Let me clean up this mess. We'll let that butter cool, and then we'll do the next step. Okay, so one more thing I want to do to the bird to get it ready is poke some holes in here in the skin. I pull up the skin and then I just put some knife holes in it and get down in there so that it can flavor all of that meat. Otherwise, the skin just kind of gets coated and it all runs out onto the tray and all of your goodness goes onto the tray. So we actually want to try to get that down into the skin as much as we can. If you're using whole garlic cloves, this is another way you can cut a slot, stick a garlic clove in there. You can do that too. Oh, and this pocket right here is great for flavor. Tuck your wingtips under too, like this. Just fold under. I like to just plop my legs up underneath like this, lay them on the wing, and then fold it over like this. No, you have to stay there. There you go. And then that way, everything is kind of an even size. The thighs will protect a little bit of this area in here, help keep it juicy. You won't have anything that's cooking faster than anything else because it's all kind of the same size. If I were to leave it splayed open like that, your legs would probably get dried out before your breast was cooked. So this way, everything's going to stay kind of the same temperature and cook more evenly. Okay, I think one more cleanup on the board. And my butter's cooled off a little bit, so it shouldn't burn me too much. Oh yeah. There we go. Look at that. Yumminess. Okay, so I'm just going to lay some of this on top of the bird. And I want to make sure and get it kind of down in between the legs there. I don't mess with trying to put it in the holes that I made. I just try to get it evenly distributed. And then as it cooks, it'll start to tighten that skin and it'll go down in there. You just want the cuts there for the butter to have some place to go. Okay, so just keep doing that. Make sure it's all completely covered. Now we love the bird. We say, thank you, bird, for giving your life. Give it a nice massage. Make sure all the little skin bits are covered and coated. Make sure it's all down in there. The butter that's fallen down, make sure you put it under the bird and go ahead and massage the underside of it too. Get this neck skin really good. I like to pull the neck skin down so that it's kind of flat too. It'll protect these breast parts, and it'll also get nice and crispy and tasty for you as well. Okay guys, it's ready to go in the oven. My mouth is watering. This smells so good. Okay guys, I got a 450-degree oven. I'm gonna cook it in about the middle of the oven here. For your propane oven, use a roasting pan with a rack to prevent scorching the bottom of your bird. Okay, so after about 20 minutes on 450 degrees, your skin's gonna be starting to brown. You wanna bump this down to 400 degrees. And then we're gonna continue to cook that. Check it every 15 minutes or so. Okay, so it's been another 15 minutes. I'm just gonna pull this out, do a little basting. Oh, smells so good. We'll just put it back up here on top where it belongs. Yeah, we're just over 100 degrees. We still have a long ways to go. So I'm gonna rotate him around. Okay, so I'm gonna stick that back in, come back and check it again in 15 minutes and see how it's doing. Okay, so I pulled this out. My breast is not ready yet, but my thighs are done. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just cover the thighs with some foil, because I don't want those to dry out. I'm just taking a piece, folding it in half, and just wrapping it kind of around my thighs. And that's just gonna help deflect the heat a little bit. While I've got it out, I'll go ahead and baste the breast a little more. Okay, and then we'll throw that back in the oven. And we'll check it again in about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, my bird is registering just over 160 degrees in the breast. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this. I'm looking at the juices. They're running pretty clear. So I'm gonna just stop. I've turned everything off. I'm gonna get another piece of foil. I'm just gonna let this guy hang out under here for a little bit. I want this to hang out for a little while so that all the juices can redistribute through the bird. If you were to cut into this right now, all the juices would run out and you would have a very, very dry turkey. And then we're just gonna deconstruct this bird. Now, you know your bird's done when you can just do that. No cutting required. Do the same thing here on the other side. You bend it back and then it just will naturally come apart there for you. You just need to get it apart, right? It doesn't need to be fancy. You want to kind of cut down the center, and then that gives you a nice guide for which to work. Sneak a piece of skin. Oh my gosh. I'm just gonna lay this meat out here in this juice, which is mostly butter, by the way. Nice, tender, juicy breast meat. Oh, ain't nobody gonna be mad about that. That looks wonderful. See, once you get the first slice or two off, then you can kind of start to make heads or tails out of it. And just cut off your slices. Oh my goodness. Well, this is much easier. You go in from this side. It might be a little easier for you once you get the leg off. Just work your way in. See? Learn something new every day. Learn by doing. Just get in the kitchen and try new things. You'll figure it out. Not rocket science. As long as it tastes good and it doesn't kill you, right? Yeah, if you want to learn how to carve a turkey, watch somebody else's video, because I am not the one to teach you that. Oh yeah, babe. Shh, nobody saw that. Okay, that's done for now. Get it all down there in the juice. Now, I could totally make a gravy out of this. Pan drippings, I'm not going to, because it's perfect just the way it is. We can spoon that up and put it on our potatoes and over our stuffing, and it's going to be just fine. Okay, that's it, guys. I'm going to serve this up. And thanks for watching. If you like the video, subscribe. If you got any hints on carving a turkey, because clearly I don't know what I'm doing here, leave the hints below, or a video that will make it easy to remember how to do it for next time. See you guys later.